Today, I'm not covering a full game, but instead a demo. But why, you ask? Well, Oomphy, much like the black carbon particles that infiltrated my skull during the holidays, I couldn't get it off my mind. Similarly, the aesthetic is cold as and it's 90% of the reason I'm here today. The other 10% is because the code developer and artist on the team admitted during a Q&A that the main lead has a weakness for big women. Moral of the story is that I'll play anything if you jingle the keys in just the right way. Starfetchers was made by
Svavelstickan,
or LK, and it feels like a proof of concept made during a game jam that now aspires to have the frenetic and varied gameplay of the wonderful 101, or Mr. Bones, for those who remember Quad City DJs. And I'm not talking Space Jam. I made this assessment with less than 4 hours of gameplay, including the expansion. Yes, the full game isn't even out yet I still paid and played the DLC. I'm gonna be real. I don't see a problem here. The demo was good, the DLC was even better. It's just that simple. But let's start from the top. Rise and shine, Wagey, because you're working the night shift. It's time to go to 7-Eleven for your 9 to 5.
Hello, my other employee. My son and I are going to watch the new Star Wars movie, and you're blessed with opening and closing the store over the weekend, and I'm expecting accurate hours on your timesheet. Enjoy the trash.
If you've ever worked retail, then this should be a familiar feeling, where you'd rather be anywhere but here. But for our little Sanyati, apply that mindset to her entire life. She can't escape it. There isn't any more life to live out there than in these four walls. But our wage chaser is about to be given a second chance. By force. Welcome, Sanyari, to the Thorns, a gang looking to take down the big shot in that tower over there. Doghead. You two are aiming big. Now, here's your mandatory whimsical gnome attire and katana off AliExpress. Steal this look. The look of Starfetchers is like if the concept art for a game was based on my doodles in high school, but I mean that in the best way possible. Sometimes you get a photorealistic horse, and sometimes it's Disney's 101 skinheads. This is a game where in the first 5 minutes you can hear a gold-headed android spill his woes to you with text-to-speech.
My name is Ansi.
There's a lot to digest here, but let's get back on track. The look of the characters, for example, comes off as basic, but there's way more going on with their designs. Distinct silhouettes, character-defining articles of clothing, you get the deal. Starfetchers does many simple things well. There are the smaller aspects, like the unmoving plaid you see on some characters, to bigger things, like this game's whole atmosphere. This demo takes place almost entirely at night, and the vibrant neon signs do little to make this place seem appealing. This harsh lighting is doing more to mask the grungy, disgusting streets and corner stores rather than illuminating them. Even something as mundane as a convenience store feels more like an extension of the outside. There isn't a stark white tile to be seen, the only real lights coming from more neon signs, almost reveling in how it can't help but mirror the oppressiveness of the streets. Like seriously, this store has a meat dungeon. But as you go through the gray zone, something just clicks with me. The streets are still grimy, the lights still sting my eyes, but their perspective shifts, ever so slightly. The soft rain falls at a save station, the dens of crime splash with their own brand of personality, and this cloudy-ass graveyard. I guess when your face isn't stuck in the dirt, it's easier to appreciate the view. It's rough and harsh, all the while being a stylized and sometimes surreal take on what would otherwise be mundane and regular, turning it into a concentrated, unapologetic mood. But what I really want to talk about are the colors. There's a lot of red in this game. Air pollution is something that can affect the color of the sky. This can explain why some real-life industrial districts have sunsets that are close to a blood orange color. More than just the sky, it's like all of the gray zone has adapted to this deep red. The architecture, the lights, this sweaty place has embraced the smog. It's like the Gray Zone's culture kinda thrives, basing itself around the pollution, which makes the Thorns themselves stand out even more. Green, while not uncommon, isn't as prolific of a color as red is in this place. And while you can see hints of green with some of the rare foliage around here, no other gang uses green as their primary color. You wouldn't be wrong in associating it with the garbage bins littered throughout the city. I'm assuming this is a deliberate choice, because not even the Flyman has a green background. It's speculation time! The green could be seen as a statement. There's Z-list gangsters that are the color of trash, and even before joining the Thorns, Zambezi and Sanyari both have the same colored pants and shoes. Maybe Zambezi also came from a situation all too similar to Sanyari. The only difference is that she had the courage to do something about it. It's a reminder of where they came from, and it's something they could use to rub in any smug gangbanger's face after they cut them down. Who am I? I worked retail. I opened and closed for the 7-Eleven daily. Now this could just be explained as a gameplay decision. The game is dark, so give the player red shoes and white pants to make them stand out. But this is another aspect that no other gang shares with our main characters. And this theory is way more fun, so I'm going with it. But before we establish ourselves as hunters of the thug, we must first establish some territory by taking someone else's. All members of the Thorns subscribe to the Wii Sports Resort School of Swordplay, and you have to physically drag your cursor through an enemy to cut them in half, which usually boils down to playing like you have the shakes. So what's stopping you from using the old windmill technique? Motion sickness. You also get a few milliseconds of bullet time to make things a little more manageable. Conversely, if you're playing as Sanyari, you can perform a dropkick, which is considerably less useful against bullets, or, more likely, it's a skill issue. Gameplay-wise, I've seen comparisons to games like Hotline Miami, where everything is a one-tap and interactions are so quick that every hallway is either an adrenaline-filled bloodbath or it's that scene from Oldboy. Where it differs from those games is that Starfetcher's combat is kinda jank. The movement itself is fine, but the swordplay feels a bit weightless. There's a cooldown when using your defensive parry, leaving you on the back foot for 80% of the time. If you can clear a room with the flick of your wrist, that's cool, but starting out, you'll be playing it safe and on the defensive, parrying swords and deflecting bullets from a safe distance. Are these issues? Yeah, but it's still fun. The gameplay itself is simple and enjoyable for what it is. It's a vehicle for cool moments, and even cooler music. This feels like an evolution from those violent flash games of the early 2000s. And I don't mean Sonic OC dress up or whatever. I'm talking Zhao Zhao, Age of War, peak Newgrounds content. So what I'm saying is that it's high art. For this next part, I'm gonna go straight into the music, because it was honestly a pleasant surprise. I did not expect to get tag teamed by Mariah and Camel in the first 20 minutes. There's a crumb of a prog rock sample before you get volleyball spiked into the action. Beats stopping and starting as we cut and get cut down. We fail, but improve. The pace picks up, and it all persists until the dance finally stops. But some of these tracks are like a refreshing slap to the face, and even the main title just hits you like, from looking at this game, I expected like some trip-hop beats. I mean, the game looks moody enough. These tracks got me thinking of very specific Adult Swim bumpers, and if you're tickling that part of my brain, you're doing a real good job. Making these cold streets some of the coziest places to be, just because of Constro Buzz's music that's somehow rocky and smooth at the same time. At times, Starfetchers makes my mind go to No More Heroes. The whole game feels like a desperate struggle, not just because you're messily mowing down badmen with your sword and wrestling moves, but with the surprising amount of self-reflection. I already speculated on Zambezi's potential origin, but we actually get some dialogue hinting at it as well. It's real brief, but when the action dies down and the fighting is done, we're not getting anything on the level of the death metal monologue, but we still learn just enough about our leads. Zambezi wants to be free from mundanity and carve her name into the zone's gross underbelly, but Sanyari seems to only really express her feelings in the now. Ironically, her moment of reflection is not reflecting at all, at least not too deeply. And Nevada, Oh, we'll get to you later. Zambezi was probably right on the money with her read on Sanyari at the start of the game. Sanyari is unsatisfied with her life, but either unable or unwilling to take the step forward, and as we've shown multiple times, she doesn't enjoy violence. She's less confrontational about things, and in a roundabout way, that might explain why her second ability is a dropkick. It can mess you up, but it won't kill you. That learned helplessness is what keeps her stuck, and as dark as it sounds, the gang lifestyle might be her only way out. And this is why I can take this game seriously. This moment right here feels so earnest. In a game about gangsters fighting with blades and bullets, where most deaths are treated with the same reverence as a regular show explosion, they even pull the same car punchline twice. There could have been more meta jokes, self-referential humor, something to undercut the mood for a quick joke, but it's not there. Everything is played straight. As wacky as it is to us, this is the world they live in, and this struggle for identity feels real because of it. This is what makes this setting work for me, and it did well to get me invested. A warning going forward, this mini-episode is just as long as the demo, and I'm gonna gush about it for the rest of this video. Escape from Pork Belly was a mini-episode done during the development of episode 1. You might think it's weird for a small team to start a separate project in the middle of their current one, but from the patch notes, it's clear that they needed a bit of a break on the main game. Burnout can be deadly for creative projects. Even with 20 people, I needed a break. And if your side project is just more content for the main game, then it's a win-win. After the pilot finishes, our duo gets caught by the Rhinestone Cowboys, probably because we had a 4-mile trek back from prison. Nevada here explains that killing the suburban Satans and stealing their crib puts you in a bind. The Thorns now owe $12,000 in debt, plus tip. Punch out dudes to earn your freedom, or Sanyari gets branded and spends the rest of her days in the dungeon. I'm gonna start with my issues just to get it out of the way. We're using the same controls as the pilot, and that's not the issue. Knowing where to punch can take some getting used to. In my experience, you gotta aim for anywhere from the chest upward, but go for the head just in case. There's already a lot of feedback when you land a hit, and it can get even harder when they decide to teleport away from you. Those are all my gripes. Now to the good stuff, which is everything else. The gameplay itself is again dead simple. The feedback is great, and your opponent rattles like it's DK Jungle Beat. You know what you did. I kinda love how frantic it all is. You're expected to be way more proactive than you might think. Punch-Out at least gave you the mercy of being able to wail on a dude after finding a hole in their offense. In Pork Belly, you gotta get a good rhythm going. Your time to strike is whenever you can line up a punch. This ain't an organized sport, it's bare-knuckle brawling. You gotta feel it out. And even though they telegraph their hits, them dodging and winding up looks almost identical, so you gotta be on your toes. A part of me wishes there was some sort of super move that you could unleash after getting a high enough combo. In a meta sense, I can kind of interpret this as Zambezi having no real technique. She's just punching them really, really hard. But like, you could have given her like the dropkick or something, come on. After you win a round, you get your payout, and there's no better way to use your money than by visiting everyone's favorite scrappy Texan, Nevada. She's cute as a button, and she's single, ladies. Here, you can subject yourself to all of her side hustles. She's a saleswoman, brokering the best roguelike trinkets in the pit. A licensed medical practitioner. But most importantly, a friend. While you're a slave to the ring due to your crippling debt, Nevada is also a slave to her work. Nevada is honestly the star of the show here. These side talks you can have with her adds a lot of flavor to this DLC. She's fun. Get those social link points while you can. God, this funny brown woman is gonna ruin me. A side note, chromatic aberration hurts my eyes, and there's no option to turn it off. French! Which would be an issue if not for my need to satisfy that sick urge by finding all the little details in this short game. I like how one scene in particular gets recontextualized after going on a second playthrough. And going back to flavor, there's a lot of game in this DLC. We got like 3 to 4 different enemy types, secret enemies, enough dialogue with Nevada to justify multiple playthroughs, some secret dialogue depending on how good you did during the finale, and the smaller things, like I love the look of the crowd in the back there. Big fan of the meat man ripping open his coat. The boss fights were actually pretty fun too, with my favorite being the second boss, for obvious reasons. It helps that I got revenge on Gooey Gus after the years of trauma. Going back to that whole secret enemy thing, I got real lucky and found this whip guy in my first run. He's piss easy, but I like how he's treated as setup for a future fight. I won't get into too much detail here, because if you're going to discover the peaks of this DLC, it's not going to be through me. How did that car even get there? Go and buy it. But if you can't realistically justify spending $8 on a 1-hour experience, I'll link my own copy below. Critique. I want more game, and I lack the money to commission art that appeases the Council of Goons, and the resulted blue balling keeps me trapped in this Discord karaoke hell. As a collective, they all suffer the cummy ache. Solution: support LK and his team by leaving favorable reviews for the demo, and if you're feeling especially generous, well, that's too bad because their Kickstarter ended back in 2021. But you can still leave a good review on their store page for the DLC after, buying it. To the dev team at
Svavelstickan.
I'm looking forward to more of your crazy ideas. And if you throw in more of these minigame-esque side episodes when you need to decompress, hey, even if it's alternative gameplay contained in the main episode, I definitely won't complain. Game development isn't easy. Like anything worth doing, you can lose yourself in your work, burnout will sneak up on you, and by the time you recognize the signs, your motivation might have sputtered and died out, killing everything you might have been able to give, and worst case, you'll be too afraid to try again. It's a story that's all too common. I'm not here to preach, I'm just saying it's good to step back sometimes to refocus, and to think not just about what you'll do when you start work again, but for yourself and those you care about. That's why I'm glad for LK. He found a way to get himself unstuck and make something that feels like it's straight from the heart. There's a lot of soul here, and you bet I'm getting episode 1 the day it comes out. Anyway, Happy New Year! I took some time to reflect over the holidays, and I'm here now saying how grateful I am for all of you that motivated to keep me doing these horrible videos. From the people close to me to the people behind the screen, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the support. Take care of yourselves, and have a good one.